What is going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome to a brand new Sun and Moon series on my channel. I am not alone. I am joined by a very good friend of mine. Sam, go ahead and say hi to the people.
Hello, everybody.
If you do not know who that is, guys, that is Sam, aka Fufu, one of the best PU players in the entire community right now. So I'm ecstatic to be doing this series with him. However, I do have to give a big spoiler warning. If you do not want to know anything about Sun and Moon, what we think about Sun and Moon, anything about that, click out of the video. I will not be upset, but this is some awesome stuff that we've been speculating on just because we're really excited for the games, right?
Yeah, super excited.
Awesome. So what the series is going to be is we're going to be speculating on the mons that got leaked in the data mine. We are going to be speculating on the types, abilities, stats, tier listings. We're going to give it a grade. We're going to be talking all about these mons. So the first one that we're going to be talking about in this video is actually going to be the Salandit evolution. What do you think about Salandit, Sam?
Salandit is really cool. I really like the pre-Evo and this evolution. Like, it's weird and funky looking, but it's really grown on me, mainly because you've been talking about it and you absolutely love it. So yeah, definitely growing on me.
Yeah, do you think it's going to have the same fire poison typing when it evolves?
I think it looks like it could do. It's got like the dark colors, but I don't think it'll be dark type. Fire poison is just too cool to pass up. If they change that, I will be upset. I will be really upset.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I will be too, because it does so well against some Dragon Fairy Steel cores, so
Yeah.
has a lot of potential. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the abilities that we gave it?
Yeah, sure. So corrosion is a really cool new ability that it definitely gets. Well, Salandit definitely gets, and I assume the evolution does too. Which it allows it to be able to poison types and steel types. Steel types is weak to its fire typing anyway, so it might not be that useful. But poisoning poison types is pretty cool. But yeah, and then we thought that it might get some other abilities. So one that kind of makes sense because it looks like it's a thief and it steals stuff is pickpocket, but pickpocket's not that great. It's hard to use properly, and I don't know. We were looking for something a bit more interesting than that. So seeing as though it's already got one new ability, why not give it another? And we're going to give it Burn Touch, which is kind of like Poison Touch. If you use a physical move against the opponent, you have a chance of burning them, and that would be really awesome. Really
Yeah,
cool.
that even has awesome potential if this thing gets access to moves like U-turn. Like if you force a switch, you U-turn out, you made physical contact, you burn them, and then get the heck out. That
Yeah,
would be so cool.
that would be amazing. It was so great. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you mind if I go ahead and talk about the stats?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So I had a massive nerdgasm over this thing just because I think it has a massive similarity to Heliolisk. So I think it's going to be really fast. I think it's going to be like base 112 speed, mainly just because of its legs and its tail. It has some really powerful looking legs, so it looks like it could run pretty fast. I don't think that this thing is going to be very defensive on either side, just because of the way that it's so thin. So I think 60 in both defenses looks pretty cool. And I also think that this thing is going to have pretty decent offensive stats for its typing. So 95 in special attack, 80 in attack, and 75 in HP.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I completely agree. I think that with this, it means that it's not going to be super broken or anything like that, but it gives it nice options because it's so fast. It could do some utility stuff, it could do some offensive stuff, might even get some nasty plot setup because it looks a bit nasty. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. What do you think that the whole tier speculation for it is going to be?
So this thing, like, it's not super overwhelmingly powerful, but because it has that base 112 speed, it's probably going to be useful, at least in some tiers. Whether it'll get higher than RU, I'm not sure, just because it does maybe lack a bit of power, but if it gets set up, maybe it could do. And also the utility is really cool. If this thing isn't that powerful, then corrosion is going to be even more useful because if you're not going to be doing to it KOing things like Registeel because it is just so bulky even though you're a fire type, then getting a corrosion toxic on it will be really good. So I think that this thing, I really like it and I really hope that it finds a place in competitive. I'm thinking that RU is the most likely tier though.
I can definitely agree. The one thing that I do want to mention that I think could take this thing up into a higher tier, if this thing has access to toxic spikes. Now, Sam and I were both kind of thinking about it, And if its ability allows toxic spikes to poison every single typing, including poison types and steel types, it would add that little bit of extra oomph behind it to give it some really cool utility. That means now poison types are no longer able to soak it up, so you have to either rapid spin or defog them away. Everything is now poisoned. That's probably the only way I could see it being higher than RU, but with its really cool typing, it's not going to allow steel types to stay in on it anyway, so steel types aren't going to be getting poisoned. It's not like these awesome grass poison types are going to be able to stay in on it either. So I think it's going to just be a pretty decent wall breaker for a lower tier.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably where it's going to end up.
Yeah, and for a letter grade, I'm actually going to give this thing, I was teetering back and forth between a B minus and a C, just because it kind of all depends on its exact offensive stats.
Yeah, I would probably go with the more generous thing. I'd like to see this thing being really well used and everywhere, but it does depend on the offensive stats and if it gets set up, and also the move pool, because there are lots of moves that it could get. It could get things like knockoff, which is always a good thing to have on a mixed attacker even. So yeah, it does depend, but it could be quite good, especially as a choice user.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the next mod?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to consider Mudsdale right now. A really cool looking Pokemon. It looks super sturdy and angry and big and just a really solid Pokemon. And I like that. I really like the idea. It's like this working horse, and we've only had like pretty thin, elegant looking horses. I like a good solid horse. So I think that was pretty cool. We've seen that it's a ground type, but what's really interesting is its abilities. So do you want to talk about the abilities a little bit?
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about the abilities. We both have seen stamina. We know that that's going to be a pretty decent ability. Being able to raise its defense is an awesome ability. And we also seen that it has own tempo, which is not the biggest competitive ability out there. But I think for the hidden ability, that's where this thing could become extremely useful. With the name Mudsdale and it being a ground type, I kind of think that it being having the ability to be immune to a water type attack would be huge. So access to dry skin or storm drain or anything like that would be really, really cool. It would neutralize one of its weaknesses, and it would make it a lot harder to kill in general.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be such a cool ability for it to have. Especially seeing as though it looks really tanky, being able to drink up those water type hits, maybe even being a Scald switch in, that would be crazy. So yeah, I think that would be awesome. And also stamina, just on its own, is a really cool ability for it to have. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works out and if it's really going to be very good. But anyway, yeah, do you want to talk about the stats this time for a bit?
Yeah, sure thing. I'll definitely talk about them. So this thing looks like it's really, really bulky. So I'm thinking like base 110 HP. It looks like it can take a lot of hits on the physical side. So I'm thinking even base 80 physical defense. Special defense, I think, is going to lack just a little tiny bit and become like base 75, along with speed being base 75. It looks like it could be faster. However, I think with the bulkiness of it, it's going to end up teetering on the slower side of a tank. And I think that this thing is actually going to have pretty decent mixed offensive stats with 95 in attack and 80 in special attack.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that HP is definitely going to be its biggest one. It looks really quite fat in that regard. And then everything else being kind of usable but not huge. I think that really makes sense. It looks much more like a tank that's able to take hits and do things. So yeah, I completely agree with those stats. And in terms of viability and where it will end up with the tiers, well, it's hard to say because I think there are a lot of ground types that kind of do similar things. Like you've got Donphan, for example, but Donphan gets access to Rapid Spin, and I can't see a horse doing roly-polies or anything like that. So I don't think that this thing's going to get Rapid Spin. But what sets it apart would potentially be its abilities. So I could see this thing doing all right, but because it does have a lot of competition, I think that it will probably be in the lower tiers, such as NU, maybe. Again, it depends on what things it gets, and it depends on how good stamina ends up working out. If it gets some form of recovery, stamina is going to be great, but otherwise, it probably is going to be a little bit underwhelming. What do you think?
I think that this mon is actually going to be extremely underwhelming. We've seen that mons that have pretty decent stats all around, such as Go-Goat, end up being not very effective just because of A, their typing, and B, their move pool. And with this thing, as you said, being able to be overshadowed by things like Donphan and other ground types that just do it better, it's going to end up falling way down into things like NU. I personally would even like to see it in PU. I think that would make it a lot of fun, but I think it might be a little too bulky for PU, especially with a pure ground type.
Yeah.
But I think it'll still be pretty cool. If this thing does get access to recovery and stealth rocks along with stamina, it'll be pretty freaking cool because Edgequake plus rocks plus recovery plus the ability stamina could make it extremely difficult to switch into and take down.
Yeah, it does have potential, and that mono ground typing is actually pretty decent, so I'm hoping that it does okay, but yeah, probably low tiers, I agree.
Definitely. What letter grade would you give this?
I would probably go C minus, a low C minus at that though. I don't think that it's gonna hit very high in terms of the tiers or the viability.
Yeah, I was thinking like D maximum, just because it doesn't reach the stats of what other things would want, and it doesn't look like it could get recovery. Now, if it has dry skin as an ability and it becomes a scald switch in, then it could be pretty cool. Because then you don't have to worry about getting burnt. You have that sort of reliable recovery because everybody loves to spam Scald. Like, it's just one of the most spammable moves in the game. So that could help it out a little bit. But that is pretty much what we think about Salandit's evolution and Mudsdale. Make sure you guys comment down below and let us know what you think. If we got it completely wrong, if we're pretty close to it, also make sure you guys let us know if you have any stat speculations or different abilities, anything like that. We would love to create a conversation with this entire series throughout both of our channels, so make sure you guys do that for us. Is there anything else that you want to say before I go ahead and close this out?
No, just check out the next video.
Definitely. As he said, the next video is going up on Sam's channel. Once it's uploaded, there will be a clickable link on your screen as well as a link to Sam's channel on your screen. Just go ahead and click on that. It'll take you over to his channel. You can subscribe to him. Makes amazing content. Really good battler. He's in the GBA. He does a lot of really cool stuff. So make sure you guys go check out his channel along with all of these videos. But I think with that, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.